Hello, my name is Amy White. Today I will be reviewing the sources obtained through the JSTOR research database concerning the Rwandan Genocide. The first article that I chose was The Question of Genocide, the Clinton Administration and Rwanda by Holly J. Burkhalter. Burkhalter really creates an important source-driven timeline that really narrates what was happening on the ground in Rwanda during the early stages of the Civil War, as well as the timeline leading up to the Civil War and then the eventual genocide. This really creates a good foundation for the readers and helped in my understanding of the overall picture. She really explains the failure of the Americans to respond to this tragedy, and she explains why in 3 points, including a lack of timely information. The Americans had, like in any disaster such as this, withdrawn all their personnel from country to protect them, essentially. And so with that, the Rwandans really lost a voice to the outside world because all these foreign nationals just up and had to evacuate. So that really created a hindrance on reaction time. Furthermore, there was this political backlash that had erupted from the tragedy in Somalia, where we had lost 4 service members. And so that really left the Clinton administration especially weary of intervening. So the Americans had essentially, after Somalia, stepped back and expected the rest of the world to fill their shoes and lead the international community, including the UN, into doing and intervening on such issues. The second article or source I chose is the Genocide Convention at 50, which is an article by William Schabas that really goes through the Genocide Convention from the United Nations. Starts with how it was created and defined, and how it has really, after a lag from the Holocaust into the latter half of the 20th century, become more necessary to evolve with the times. Schabas was really concerned with the language of the convention and how we go about defining what a genocide is. His concern is that it's not pertaining to all groups necessarily. It's mainly prescribed to racial identification, ethnicity, and religions, but not really encompassing, like, say, women or men or those smaller subgroups. So he really thinks the language ought to be updated on that. And it's important to understand that in the language, genocide is defined in the convention as the intent to destroy an entire group. So if just 5 of a certain group were murdered, but they had the intent to kill the entire group, then that is a genocide, and the international community, based on convention, ought to react in kind. Now, the third source that I found is actually a book chapter coming from the book, The Limits of Humanitarian Intervention, Genocide in Rwanda by Alan J. Kuperman. So in chapter 4, I read through that, and it's called or entitled, When Did We Know? Kuperman really gets into the details from the media, mainly because intelligence reports at this time were not available. They hadn't been declassified. And that is really the primary source that even the governments had at the time to know what was really going on. From this information, we knew that we were not getting the proper amount of information coming out of the country. Again, as I said before earlier, mainly because the foreign nationals had already left, and their sources to the outside world were therefore also cut off. And from that lack of understanding, we were also given false information by the Rwandan government. It was made to look like the Civil War had just simply restarted after the president of Rwanda had been assassinated. And we didn't really clearly get a full picture. And the information that was coming out was very much like not lining up. One source would say it was hundreds of thousands people, other would be like it's just localized in a small city or the capital. And this turmoil would continue to occur, and we really didn't know what was going on. So with that, we just get a better understanding of what was happening at the time, and how the international community as a whole was making choices. So overall, I feel like this information really aided in my research. I do need to find more raw data, which isn't really the forte in JSTOR. It's more focused on academic source material and not necessarily like primary sources or raw data. So I look forward to finding that. I look forward to also seeing your comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you so much.